All right, everybody, we welcome you in live here on a Friday. Happy Friday, the Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. All right, we have a lot to get into here today. We'll see if Shaw calls in. Shaw, the potty mouth from yesterday. I mean, he had to be cut from the show. He called in all angry. He swore. We don't swear here on the damn Justin Kinner Show. We just don't do it. We don't do it. Now, there's some four-letter words you can say, and then there's some four-letter words you can't say. Guess which column of words he decided to use. But nonetheless, I hope everyone's having a better day than Shaw did yesterday. Cranky. There you go. But, okay, lots to get into here today. We're going to open up with, of course, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals matchup. Both of those teams go head-to-head. Coming up this Sunday, 1 o'clock is going to be the kickoff for that one. That's going to be on CBS. Nonetheless, Pittsburgh at home, 4.5-point favorites. All right, you look at Pittsburgh, 5-4, still sitting atop the AFC North, but they're reeling a bit. All right, they beat the Browns a month ago, 23-9. At that point, that was their third straight win. They were 4-1. They were sitting pretty atop the AFC North. Aaron Rodgers and the offense looked solid. The defense was still less, something that everyone was just questioning, obviously. But since then, they've lost to the Bengals. They've lost to the Packers. They did beat the Colts, which was just strange. And then they go on to lose to the Chargers. So they've lost 3 of their last 4. They've lost 3 of their last 4, and they are very similar, okay, to the Cincinnati Bengals, where they have a lot of similar issues on the defensive side of the ball. This is not the Pittsburgh Steelers that we're used to. I mean, their identity throughout the Mike Tomlin era has always been about their defense. In fact, their defense has always been so good that they've been able to kind of maneuver through the last, 5-6 years without an efficient offense to win a lot of games. I mean, this is a Mike Tomlin-led team that during his era, they've never finished below 500. They always win football games regardless of the deficiencies that they have, because that's how buttoned up they have been defensively. But you look at how Pittsburgh is right now, and you look at where they sit right now, they are not one of the top defensive teams in football. In fact, they're one of the worst defensive teams in football, which has obviously made them very vulnerable, to say the least. I mean, Pittsburgh right now is sitting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They have the 7th worst ranked defense in the National Football League. Teams that are worse than them, teams like the Dallas Cowboys, who traded away Micah Parsons in the offseason, team like the New York Giants, teams like the Washington Commanders, and teams like the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals have given up the 2nd most yards on the season, and they have given up 3,800 yards. 3,400 yards is what the Steelers have given up. Again, very similar deficiencies nonetheless, which is what led to a very entertaining back and forth the last time these two teams played. The last time these two teams played, it was the shootout that was in Cincinnati. It was a primetime game, and it was the very first. Technically, it was the second game of the Joe Flacco era in Cincinnati, but it was the first real game, right? Because we saw Joe Flacco make his debut the week before when the Bengals were at Green Bay. He had just got traded right there at the deadline on a Tuesday. They had just got back from Dublin. The Browns had just got back from their game against Minnesota in Dublin. So Joe Flacco is just getting back into town. Then he's traded. Luckily, he's in Ohio, so he just has to get to Cincinnati. But then he hits the road right away for their game with the Packers that weekend. So the Steelers matchup, that was technically their first real matchup, if you will. And we know what Joe Flacco did that night. Joe Flacco, again, the Bengals come out on top, 33-31 in a shootout. Flacco threw for 342 yards. Right? Joe Flacco was unbelievable that game. 342 yards. All right. He threw He threw 3 touchdowns. All right. That was a record-setting night for Jamar Chase, who had 16 catches on 23 targets for 161 yards and a touchdown. T. Higgins caught a touchdown. Noah Fant caught a touchdown. And as we talked about on yesterday's show, Joe Flacco has been playing MVP-like football ever since. So the Steelers defense, the Bengals defense, it's less to be desired about, of course, and that's what's going to lead to a shootout coming up tomorrow, or I should say on Sunday. And that has me excited, you excited. Everyone should be excited about this. I think it's going to be a good game. Obviously, right now, no one's really enjoying this season. The Bengals have entertaining games every week, but the bottom line is they stop becoming entertaining whenever you know how the game's going to end. It's the same end result every time. They played well against the Jets, but you knew that it was all going to come crashing down on them, and it did. They lose to the Jets. They played well offensively, they played more than well offensively against the Bears, but we knew it was all going to come crumbling down because of the lack of faith and trust in that defense. But there is a former Super Bowl champion that played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. a former Steeler great, a future Hall of Famer, that had some interesting hot takes. You know me, I love some hot takes. But this individual, this future Hall of Famer, this former Pittsburgh Steeler quarterback, he's pretty adamant, very confident, okay, that, well, that the Steelers are going to win this on Sunday and that the Cincinnati Bengals have absolutely no shot. Take a listen to this.
0. I can't say 0 because that's awful. There's a 4.5% chance that Joe Flacco goes out and does what he did last week to us. 4.5.
You think?
4.5. That's it.
I see. When you start talking, I get nervous, bro.
It's not going to happen at Acrisure. It won't happen here. Our D line is going to jump the count. We're going to be all over it. There's going to be some turnovers this week. On defense is going to get turnovers. It will not happen this week, and this is going. I'm marking it down right now. Actually, I have a W on here. I'm sticking with it. W. Okay,
I agree.
No, it's not going to happen. We might win by 15 plus.
Wow. Whoa. See, I'm getting nervous. I don't get nervous about this, but I'm getting a little nervous when you start saying stuff like that because
0. I can't say 0 because that's awful. There's a
man. Oh man. Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger might be why the Cincinnati Bengals win on Sunday. That's one of those insert foot in mouth type situations right there. 0% chance. Ben Roethlisberger is very confident that the Pittsburgh Steelers win by 15 plus on Sunday. You just heard it there. Kind of wild. I for one, disagree with him. I beyond disagree with him. I actually see Cincinnati winning this game on Sunday. But I see the people who are concerned because it's one of those situations as well where Aaron Rodgers hasn't looked in the offense for the Steelers. They have their deficiencies. Like a lot of people are trying to say that the Steelers and Bengals are the same team. No, they are not. The Steelers don't have a dominant side of the ball right now. They don't have an elite side of the ball. To the Bengals' credit, they do. The Bengals are an elite offensive team. They are an elite passing team. Joe Flacco has played at an elite level. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are elite, as you know. And Zach Taylor, whether you want to give him credit or not, he's running an elite offense in Cincinnati right now without Joe Burrow. You cannot say that the Bengals and the Steelers are the same team because they are not. The Steelers have a Hall of Fame quarterback. They have an all-time great quarterback. They have a good receiver and DK Metcalf. They have the tools that you need to be successful, but they're just not gelling. Their offense doesn't scare anybody. Now, again, we talked about what Joe Flacco did to the Steelers defense the last time these two teams played, as far as what Aaron Rodgers did to the Bengals defense. Aaron Rodgers completed 23 of his 34 pass attempts. He threw for 249 yards. He did throw for 4 touchdowns, but he also threw 2 interceptions as well. Does he make those same mistakes? Does he make those same 2 turnovers again this game? Probably not. But for the Bengals to have a chance, that defense is going to have to do, because that's what the Bengals defense was doing initially early on. The reason that the Bengals defense was still finding ways to be productive, even when it wasn't being productive, is they were still one of the league leaders in forcing turnovers. That has not been the case over the last 3 weeks, okay? But at the beginning, heck, even when you go back to Cleveland, Joe Flacco threw all over the Cincinnati Bengals defense back in week 1. If you go back to week 1 and you look at that Browns and Bengals matchup, I know it was only 17-16, but Joe Flacco threw the ball 45 times. He threw for 290 yards. He threw for a touchdown, but the 2 interceptions he threw, one of them was a game clincher. That's what won the game. The Bengals are winning games at the beginning because their defense was horrible. They were getting thrown people were throwing on them. You were running on them. You were moving the ball on them. But in those close games initially, their defense was coming away and forcing turnovers, and that's exactly what the Bengals needed just to kind of give themselves a chance. Joe Flacco, when he was with the Browns, threw 2 interceptions against the Bengals in week 1. Trevor Lawrence, he threw 2 interceptions in week 2 against the Cincinnati Bengals defense, so that helped, right? But then all of a sudden, the turnover stopped, and you lose 48-10 in week 3 against the Vikings. The turnover stopped. You lose 28-3 against the Broncos in week 4. The turnover stopped. You give up 37 points and lose 37-24 in that game against the Lions. So the turnovers, that has to be a staple of what this team is going to do. Again, you look at the Packers loss, right? The Green Bay Packers, the Bengals lost 27-18. But Jordan Love threw an interception in that game. There was a fumble in that game. The Bengals defense is horrible. However, when they force turnovers, it's a much different story. It's a much different story, and that's going to have to be what they have to do against Pittsburgh coming up on Sunday. Aaron Rodgers is going to throw on this defense. He is going to get chunk yardage. DK Metcalf is going to eat. These receivers are going to look solid. But what's going to have to happen is the Bengals are going to have to find ways to be opportunistic on the defensive end. They're not all of a sudden going to become a good tackling team. They're all of a sudden not going to become a good defensive team. But what they can do all of a sudden is find ways to get creative, force a turnover here or there, and give their offense a shot. I will say the problem last time, too, Jaylen Warren did run all over. The Steelers ran for 147 yards, too. Something else to keep in mind. Jaylen Warren ran for 127 yards on 16 carries last time. He averaged just a hair under 8 yards a carry. Jaylen Warren can run the football, and he ran the football very well on this defense last time. Now, the Steelers aren't a very good running team. I get that, but they look like a heck of a running team against this Bengals defense the last time they played. I think it's going to be a good one. I think it's going to be an entertaining one. Coming up on Sunday. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show here on 1410 ESPN Radio. One thing we touched on yesterday's show was part of me kind of feels, is there animosity building between Joe Burrow and Joe Flacco? Is there a chance that could be the case? If you're Joe Flacco, you don't want Joe Burrow to get healthy. You don't want Joe Burrow to come back. You don't want Joe Burrow to come back and take your spot. Man, oh man. I'm very curious to see how the next couple of weeks plays out as Joe Burrow's comeback attempt continues on and on. But Joe Flacco he's going to go out there and give it his all. He doesn't know how many more games he's going to be starting. I think that's going to play a role in some of the pressures this Bengals offense faces moving forward as well. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. We will be right back.
Was brought to you by False Hope Energy Drink. One sip, and suddenly you believe this is the year the Bengals get an offensive line, maybe even a defense. Warning, may cause midseason meltdowns and off-season excuses. The Justin Kinner Show, powered by pure, unfiltered sarcasm. And, oh yeah, False Hope Energy Drink.
I don't know how much false hope there is right now. It seems to be seems to be no hope right now amongst Bengals fans. Although some hope seems to be coming back with the news of Joe Burrow coming back. And I know we've spent a lot of time on that this week, but I tell you what, the one take you haven't got yet is this guy. Bam, right here. Look at that.
What up, though?
Can you introduce yourself to our audience? For those that don't know who
the
you are?
birth name that Penny and Larry came up with is Kevin. That's the birth name.
Kevin.
Yes, that's the birth name that they came up with. But, I got an older brother, so he changed my name. It's just Kevin. It's just Kevin. Shouts out to my brother.
Interesting week. It's Steelers week. Bengals Steelers coming up. I tell you what, when I first started in radio, I just started working with Keith with Byers. We were doing my first actual show ever was the Sunday morning sports show. Bad name, but it's just Sunday morning sports. It's like, hey, what do you want your show to be called? I don't know. When's the show? It's Sunday mornings. Okay. Well, just Sunday morning sports. There you go. Bam. We're off and running. But then KB came and joined the station. So they paired me and Byers up. And one of the first shows we did together was with the Bus, Jerome Bettis. And they were playing the Steelers that week, or the Bengals. They were playing the Bengals. It was Bengals Steelers that week. And I'd asked him, I said, all right, Jerome, it's big, it's Steelers week, Bengals Steelers, big rivalry. And he goes, I wish I had the audio. I wish I had the audio. Remember when that studio blew out and there, all the audio was on that computer, it wiped away. But it was awesome because he said, I have to stop you right there. He goes, now listen. He goes, I hated the Bengals my entire career, but I owe them my career. I do believe I'm in the Hall of Fame because of the Bengals. He said, because I had more rushing yards against the Bengals than any other team in the National Football League. So he credits the Bengals for his Hall of Fame induction. And he also said in Pittsburgh, they don't sit there and say it's Bengals week. He said it's a one-sided rivalry. So I always got a kick out of that. And I love to bring it up anytime I can. Some say I'm a troll. Some say I'm a troll.
A little bit. What's your expectations for this upcoming matchup?
I think it's going to be just like the last time. These two teams are very similar, except Bengals defense is way worse than Pittsburgh's. Their deficiencies are the same. And I think Cincinnati's offense is way better than Pittsburgh's. But again, to me, the big difference the last time these two teams played was the 2 interceptions from Aaron Rodgers. If the Bengals defense doesn't force those 2 turnovers, I think it's maybe a possible different outcome, especially because you forget Pittsburgh had a 10-0 lead. They jumped out 10-0. I forgot about that right off the bat. But I do think it's going to be an entertaining shootout. It's everything that the AFC North has historically been is not. The Browns are the only one that have a AFC North DNA this year, or their that hard-nosed smash-mouth defense, and that's about it. The Browns are the only typical AFC North team when it comes to the defense. It's been very finesse for every other team in the North, including your Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I'm thinking this game is going to be different. I think this game is going to be played more closer to the vest. I think that the defensive changes the Pittsburgh Steelers have made since that debacle versus the Cincinnati Bengals, where Jamar Chase was awesome in that game, but the Steelers never forced Jamar Chase to be spectacular. He was wide open majority of the game. Like he was just, hey, a corner out, and nobody's within 15 yards. So they really picked the Steelers apart, and the big defensive change was out of necessity with Deshaun Elliott being lost for the season for the Steelers. So moving Jalen Ramsey from slot corner to safety, they flipped some things around. I think that the game, they played a lot better on defense, especially versus the Colts. And to be perfectly honest, I thought they played pretty good defense versus the Chargers as well. The offense was just putrid with interceptions from Aaron Rodgers to drop passes and false starts and just a whole debacle on offense. So I think that Steelers defense is going to be able to contain the Cincinnati Bengals offense. And it's around that time for Joe Flacco to have a stinker. Like that's who he is. Like he plays great for like 3 weeks and then has a complete dud where he throws like 4 interceptions. He's about due for a dud. Now, in the Cincinnati Bengals aspect of, them having a horrific defense, well, the Steelers have a horrific offense because they can't seem to do anything right offensively. If the Steelers have any hope of winning this game, they're going to have to keep it on the ground and run the ball at least 30 times with Jalen Warren for the Steelers to have a chance to win this game.
Who had success
Yes.
against this Bengals defense the last time. The Steelers offense inconsistent, obviously, but again, they ran the football well. And you can't count the Steelers offense out against this Bengals defense because I feel like it's gotten worse actually over the last couple of weeks. It had to have gotten worse. I mean, what the heck is going on? Like, there's bad. Like, your defense isn't great.
Right.
And that would irritate a fan base. That would irritate a front office, a coach. Mike Tomlin's not pleased with it, I know. But then there's what this Bengals defense is. And that's a whole other level. Like,
turnstile.
Where has it gone wrong? Because this isn't just this defense is bad. This has been a multiple year build up to this point. I had Jay Morrison on earlier this week, covers the Bengals for Bengals Talk and Sports Illustrated. And I said, if the Bengals could go back, would they have moved on from Lou Anarumo? And he said, it's a good question. He thinks they probably would not have gone back because I think it's clearly a personnel problem. It wasn't a coaching problem. But when you're underperforming and underachieving, someone's head has to roll. And It was just one of those times where coordinators usually don't stick around for 6-7 years like Lou Anarumo has. It was time to shake it up a bit. Man, it's a mess in Cincinnati defensively, like a mess. This is a historically bad defense right now.
Yeah, I couldn't pinpoint what's wrong with the defense because they give it to you any kind of way you want it. You want to give up big pass plays? Sure. You want to give up big run plays? Sure. You want to give up this? You want to give up that? You want to give up tight end screens? You can do that. You want to give up gaping holes to the running backs? You can get it any way you want it. But for me, I look at a player in particular that was drafted in the first round, and Shamari Stewart. He has all the measurables in the world, but zero production in college and giving you that same production in the NFL with zero. He's giving you absolutely nothing production-wise at all. Like no TFLs, no hitting the right gap, getting manhandled at the point of attack. That's quite alarming. But on the bright side, the lone bright side, I can never remember his name. It's number 44. What's 44's name for the Bengals on defense? I'm sorry. I probably should have thought about this. Was it no, I think it's McKnight, maybe. I think it's McKnight.
McKnight, yes, okay.
I really like him. I think he's gonna be a dog. I think he's the best player on the Cincinnati Bengals defense.
Demetrius Knight.
Yes, Knight. Yes. I think he's the best player on their defense, hands down. I know Trey Hendrickson, he's banged up and hurt, and he has, the name and all the sacks and everything like that, but he pops. Like, maybe it's because he's surrounded by such badness. He's the only one making anything happen, but I really like him.
DJ Turner's been solid.
Yes. So But the Knight Jr. kid, I really like him. I think he's a ball player for sure.
So the problem is they I forgot the metric. I have to go back and scroll. I save everything on Twitter, but it was the top 10, the 10 tacklers in the NFL with the most missed tackles. And 4 of them are Bengals players. That's a problem. All right. That's a problem when 4 of your starters have 4 of the most missed tackles in the entire National Football League.
Yeah.
It's just a simple I put that simple fundamental tackling. That's on coaching, right?
Is it?
I feel like that's
I don't know, man. Like, if the coach's job isn't to make the tackle for you, the coach's job is to put you in a position to make the play. If you're in the position to make the play, you as the player have to make said play. Like, that's just as simple as that. Like, I don't necessarily believe that's on the coaches to say, all right, we're going to take you back to middle school and teach you how to tackle. You drop set hips, you thrust, and you fire through. Like, you know how to tackle. Go make the tackle. So
the problem is yes. So sometimes I think in the sports radio bubble, we say there's a lot of narratives out there that, we put out there because it sounds good. This is one of them, put it on coaching. But the problem is the Bengals came out and said one of the reasons they moved on from Lou Anarumo is because he wasn't a good teacher. One of the reasons that they went to Al Golden is because he's coming from the college ranks and he's very good. And he's going to be coming and develop this young roster and then go back to the fundamentals. So when I hear that that's one reason why they're going to Al Golden, and then the tackling rate is actually worse with Al Golden than what it was with Lou Anarumo, and this is the same defense from a year ago, and you're bringing in the young talent that was technically brought in, designed for him.
Right.
That's why question that to that certain extent. And maybe they shouldn't have said, hey, we're bringing him in just to develop this. Like, as a whole, Al Golden is not responsible for developing these guys. The franchise as a whole is responsible for it. But that's why I kind of put it back and question the coaching, because that was the whole purpose of bringing Al Golden in, was to develop this young talent and to build them up. Something that they said Lou Anarumo wasn't good at.
I'm putting this on the players. Because we
pro
can.
football players.
Yeah, you are professional football players, and then you go look at everything that Al Golden did at Notre Dame and the defense he ran at Notre Dame. All right, fine. You want to give Marcus Freeman all the credit for their defense. Go look at the defenses that he was putting out at Miami. Yes, Miami, when he was the head coach there, never won an ACC championship, but those defenses were top tier. They put a lot of guys in the NFL, and they were good and sound defenses. You look at his time at Pitt. He was a good defensive coordinator at Pitt when he was there. Lots of dudes in the NFL. So his track record shows that he's able to produce good talent and they're making plays. These group of people for the Cincinnati Bengals, they're not doing what he needs them to do. So I'm going to put it on the players in this aspect.
All right, Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, 1410 ESPN Radio. Bengals and Steelers. It's Steelers week coming up on Sunday, 1 o'clock, the kickoff right there. And, of course, the line, as far as that's concerned, the old Vegas odds makers have this one set in favor of Pittsburgh, the home team. 4.5 points is the spread right now. Pittsburgh favored to win.
Let's get it.
So there's that. The AFC North, let me ask you, where are you? You're a Steelers fan. They're sitting atop right now at 5-4. There's the Ravens coming in at 4-5. The Bengals right there at 3-6. And then there's the stupid Browns at the very bottom. The North, is this a Steelers, Ravens, Bengals race? Steelers, Ravens race? Or it's just Baltimore's division to lose at this point?
It's Baltimore's. It's always been Baltimore's division to lose. They have the best talent. They have the best quarterback. They have the easier schedule the back half of the season, where the Steelers have a harder schedule the back half of the season. They've already missed their bye week. Aaron Rodgers is looking his age. Where's the bell? Aaron Rodgers is looking his age the last couple weeks. Baltimore is going to walk the Steelers down and win this division before December's over.
Simple as that.
Simple as that. The Ravens are the best team in the division, and it's not even close.
All right. We'll step away for a few because I am curious, because I agree with you. I think it's I don't think we need to do this thing where we think that the AFC North is wide open. I don't think it is. But Bengals fans feel with Joe Burrow coming back that it just might be. I don't know what to make of that. We'll discuss that when we come back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. We'll be right back.
and the occasional tears. The Justin Kinner Show, your official cardiac clinic for the Bengals.
Justin Kinner, and yes, Kev Nash back with you here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. Off and rolling here, the Justin Kinner Show. You can find it live on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page, ESPN Dayton's Facebook page, ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel. And then, of course, wherever you get your podcast, subscribe to the Justin Kinner Show there. We appreciate however you take the show in. And, of course, if you're listening the old school way, right here on the 1410 Wing AM dial, we appreciate that too.
The radio.
Ohio State, UCLA coming up Saturday night. The night game, prime time.
Hey.
You call them UCLA. But Ohio State, UCLA, first time that these two teams will have gone head-to-head in over 24 years, Kev.
13-6 was the final score.
A lot's changed in 24 years.
Definitely. That was bad. That was bad.
Not good.
At all.
Good. But now we welcome you back again. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun food, sports, and spirits. The Dayton Weight Loss Secret Program has successfully helped thousands of people lose 20 to 30 pounds in the first month or two. If you're interested in learning more about the Dayton Weight Loss Secret Program, call Dr. Justin and his staff today by scheduling your free consultation in person or virtually by calling 937-999-1480, or you could schedule it online at DaytonWeightLossSecret.com. All right, so the AFC North. A lot of eyes on the AFC North. Look, the AFC North is always one of the most interesting divisions in football for all the right reasons. This year, it's the most interesting division in football, or one of, for all the wrong reasons. I mean, you have Baltimore, who started out 1-4. Injuries, in the back end of that defense, of course. Lamar Jackson being out for a while didn't help. The Bengals losing Joe Burrow in week 2 and then just being horrifically bad defensively. Cleveland's Cleveland. They're always a storyline. And then Pittsburgh, a new look offense, bringing in Aaron Rodgers. And we know they're one of the older defenses, most expensive defenses in the NFL. All the wrong reasons now are why we're talking about the AFC North, because it's that whole someone has to win it thing.
Mm-hmm.
We called it the NFC least for the longest time. You look at the NFC West for the longest time, and the South. I mean, there's a lot of these bad divisions over the years where the saying was, well, somebody has to win it. And that's the case for the North this year. Pittsburgh is not great. Cincinnati is not great. Cleveland's really bad. Baltimore was really banged up, and now they're starting to play well. A lot of Bengals fans feel like with Joe Burrow coming back that the AFC North is wide open, but I think you and I discussed this in the last part of the show. I don't feel like it's wide open. I feel like this is Baltimore's division. They're in second place right now, but they're not in second place because of deficiencies. They were in second and third place because of injuries. Bengals didn't capitalize on those opportunities against the Bears and Jets the last couple of weeks, which means I think it's a one-man show at this point. I think it's the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson, the most overrated quarterback, according to Bleacher Report, by the way. That's
really?
For later.
Really?
Yeah.
Well.
Disagree with that. I think we just saw why.
Yeah, I mean, he comes back, they win 3 straight.
Yep.
Magical how that works. No, I think this is it's laughable for Cincinnati Bengals to think that that the return of Joe Burrow is going to make them win the division or help them win the division. The problem isn't the offense. It isn't the offense. The only time the offense was a problem was in week 1 versus the Cleveland Browns, and they won that game. So it's not the offense. Joe Burrow is not playing linebacker, cornerback, defensive end, defensive tackle. He's not doing any of that. He probably hasn't done that since middle school. Like, he's not going out there to play any defense, and that's not going to help them. The Cincinnati Bengals problem is not on offense. So the addition of a great quarterback is not going to do anything for you. Like, the quarterback play from Joe Flacco has been great, to be perfectly honest. It's been great. He's held up his end of the bargain. You want a better quarterback play because your backup wasn't doing so good? Well, you traded for Joe Flacco. You got great quarterback play, and you're still losing. That means you have a terrible defense, and you're not going to just magically say, like, all right, Joe Burrow's back. We're going to control the clock and run the ball a little bit more. Now you're going to go drop back and throw the bomb and look for touchdowns, and that's what Joe Flacco's doing. So the return of Joe Burrow isn't going to change anything on defense.
Yeah, and that's one thing, and not in a trolling way. I've just kept trying to ask Bengals fans this. Like, Joe Burrow coming back means what? Because Joe Flacco has not been playing at a backup level. He's been playing at an elite level. His numbers are elite. His numbers are the same numbers that Joe Burrow was putting up last year. Slightly less on the completion percentage. He's completing 65% of his passes. Joe Burrow is completing 70. But outside of that, Joe Flacco is averaging more yards per game than Joe Burrow was last season. He's averaging more touchdowns per game than Joe Burrow was last season. And last year, Joe Burrow threw for nearly 5,000 yards and 45 touchdowns. So, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not overblowing Joe Flacco here. I'm just saying, like, he's been elite. And you got to think, I've said this before, if they beat the Jets and the Bears the way that they should have, I think you put Joe Flacco in that MVP discussion if they win those games the way that they should have. Not that he's the favorite to win it. He would just have to be discussed when you look at the numbers that he has put up. Since he arrived in Cincinnati, no offense has come close to the production of which Cincinnati's offense has produced. I think there's a lot to be said about that. And now you're going to get Joe Burrow back. Joe Burrow takes a game or two. Here's been my reluctance to rush Joe Burrow back, because if everything's clicking right now, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Joe Burrow, every time he comes out of training camp, it takes him a game or two to get going. Guess what you don't have time for, Joe Burrow coming back after 3 months being off of football? You don't have time for him to get going after a game or two. You know what I mean? Like, that's would be my concern about just handing the reins over to, and let's not get this confused either. Being cleared and being 100% is two different things. He's not 100%. He's cleared to resume practice, and he'll be cleared to return as the starter here in a few weeks. But he's not cleared he's not 100%. I would be concerned if you truly believe that a less than 100% Joe Burrow coming back means that you're right back in the playoff race. I think that's also devaluing the more than stellar production that Joe Flacco has been providing in his absence.
I think you have to see how these next two games go. You're at Pittsburgh.
Fair.
You're at Pittsburgh. You got New England coming to town. New England is on fire with their 9-2 leading the AFC East. So you see how these two games go. If you win both games, then maybe you do roll Joe Burrow out there on a Thursday night at Baltimore. Maybe you do, because I'm a firm believer in, hey man, your franchise quarterback or your franchise player is your franchise guy, and if they're healthy and they're ready to go, you roll with that guy. I mean, it's almost like, hey man, if LeBron was coming off of a rolled ankle in his first stint with the Cavs, like, nah, Bron, you're coming off the bench. No, Bron's our guy, so you're going out there. So, like, that's the same way I feel about Joe Burrow. If Joe Burrow is healthy and the Cincinnati Bengals win these next two games at Pittsburgh and home versus New England, and you're right back in the race, then you think that our number one guy gives us the best chance to win these games, I'm cool with it. Now, it goes the other way. You lose those two games, then, all right, man, we'll see you next season, buddy, because season is over, because that will be 4 losses in a row in the middle of the season. So I would definitely see how these next two games go before I'm willing to commit to anything.
See, I'm the opposite. You win these next two games and Joe Flacco's been playing the way he has, I ain't touching anything.
That's fair. I
ain't touching anything because he wasn't supposed to be back till mid-December. And I think that's the timeline that you just operate by and say, hey, mid-December. That's I think they have the Cardinals, the Dolphins, and the Browns to close it out. That was the estimated time frame. But no, you're not. I mean, again, this is Joe Burrow. Big picture, Joe Burrow, you always pick over Joe Flacco. But I just mean in this particular situation where the Bengals are at and with the way Joe Flacco is playing. Because there's times
so just ride the hot hand till Joe Flacco has a Joe Flacco game.
And maybe to your point, they know the Joe Flacco game is coming at some point and you want to get out ahead of it. And if that's the case, I truly understand that as well. But we'll see what ultimately happens. But I love chaos. I think this is a chaotic situation. I think it's an awkward thing to go to Joe Flacco, because there's situations where your starter's out for a while and the backup comes in and plays well and plays good, solid backup play. Joe Flacco's not playing okay backup.
And that's
football.
what they thought they were going to get out of Browning.
Yeah.
Solid backup play. And he was giving the game away.
And and if this was a Jake Browning just playing solid, doing just enough to put them in position to win games, great. Joe Flacco is putting up equal production that Joe Burrow was. And I think that creates not a problem. This is a good problem to have, by the way. Yeah. Oh man, we have 2 elite quarterbacks. I have a team that has so many quarterbacks. And I think if you combine all the talents of them together, you still don't have even half of what Joe Burrow is. So that's a concern right there. But either way, I love chaos. And nonetheless, I think we're, gearing towards a chaotic final 2 months of the season, because it's kind of crazy. Thanksgiving's already here.
2 weeks.
We're going to talk college football later. I mean, college football's wrapping up in the next couple of weeks from a regular season perspective. But
brings tears to my eyes.
Yeah, I'm sure. But either way, anything else as we wrap up our NFL conversation? Anything else in the NFL?
So I was listening to the show earlier this week. I think it was on Monday, and it was after another Cleveland Browns loss. And you said you're done with the Dylan Gabriel experience.
Done.
You want
Well
to
done.
see Shador out there. You want to see Shador. Explain to me why you want to see Shador out there.
Because I've had Jason Fitz on, and he's compared the numbers of, Jaden Daniels was very slow to start as well. Yeah, 2 weeks. And then he had the eruption against the Cincinnati Bengals. And looked at, have you watched the games?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's why.
My wife is a Browns fan. I have to.
That's why. That's love then, because that's how I know my wife loves me, because she sits right next to me watching the Browns too. And I'm like, I don't even know why I'm choosing to watch this. I think Dylan Gabriel's horrendous. Now, at the same time,
horrendous?
I think he's horrendous. I think this has just been god awful. And I've watched consecutive games now. This goes all the way back to, I went to the Rose Bowl last year, and I watched him play horrendous against Ohio State then too.
Well, that was a pro defense.
And these are pro defenses that he's facing.
Warming them up for the pros.
So, I mean, it's simple. Like, it's one thing. So there's a lot of layers to this. Dylan Gabriel is not very good. Some of it's because I just don't think he has the intangibles anyways with his height and everything else. So that's a problem.
And short people, man.
Yeah. I mean, as a short person, I want to pull for him. I really do. But the only guy I'm pulling for now is for him to be pulled out of the game. But it's, I look at Joe Flacco, who looked geriatric and done, and then all of a sudden lights it up once he gets to Cincinnati. So is this one of those situations where Dylan Gabriel, although not geriatric, but just looks done, he doesn't have anything to work with? Is it because of the product of his surrounding? Yes, that's playing a role in it. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, how many plays over the last couple of weeks have there been wide open wide receivers that he throws it at their feet? He throws it over their head. Hell, the trick play, because they don't trust Dylan Gabriel throwing the football, so they were going to throw it to a wide receiver to throw the football. He overthrew the wide receiver that they wanted to throw. It just, I think a lot of it's in his head as well. I think there's so much pressure. This is why they shouldn't have drafted Shador in the back end of the draft, because I think he's feeling the pressure of, oh man, every mistake, I'm one mistake closer to being benched for Shador Sanders. But I'm done. I think just visually watching this, I don't think Dylan Gabriel has it. I don't think Dylan Gabriel's the guy. And even if Shador wasn't sitting behind him, I would still feel this way as far as that's concerned. In fact, I am ready for Deshaun to get back. That's how bad I feel like this has been as far as that goes. Because as bad as Deshaun Watson has looked in Cleveland, has not looked this bad. This has been bad.
So your leading receiver, Jerry Jeudy, leads the NFL in drops with 9. Yep. So let's not forget that. My question for you is, so you obviously watch a ton of AFC North football. So you watch a ton of Pittsburgh Steelers as well.
Yep. How
do you think Aaron Rodgers has been playing?
I think Aaron Rodgers has looked solid. I think he's looked more than solid. Now,
really?
Last week was not good. Last week was not good. And I think people want to hate on Aaron Rodgers because of non-football reasons when it comes to a lot of football fans when it comes to him. Not you. I'm just saying in general. Aaron Rodgers is very easy to hate. He makes it easy to dislike him. But at the same time, and I talked about this earlier in the week as well, I thought Pittsburgh did him a disservice bringing a 40-year-old quarterback in when you had a guy that has looked very solid over in Dallas, and you bring in a DK Metcalf, and I'm like, oh man, that's how you go at the Bengals. You could talk all you want about trying to form a defense to stop the Bengals offense. I don't think there is a defense to stop that Bengals offense. I think what you have to do is have enough resistance defensively and have a high-powered offense to go at them. And I thought that's what they were doing. I thought that when they got DK Metcalf and then they traded him away, and I'm like, that defeated the whole George Pickens. I thought that defeated the whole purpose of going to get a DK Metcalf at that point, as far as I was concerned. And that move was strictly done to replace one number one wide receiver with another one. It wasn't done to create a T. Higgins / Jamar Chase.
I agree with you on that point, 1,000,000%. I thought it was boneheaded for the Steelers to go ahead and trade George Pickens. Yeah, George Pickens was going into his final year of his contract, all that type of stuff. He's difficult to deal with, but hey, man, when things are going good, guess what? You don't hear anything from him. And I thought that if DK and George Pickens with Aaron Rodgers, I think things would have been going a lot better than they're going right now for the Pittsburgh Steelers. My question is, how come we don't hear the same, hey, man, let's replace Aaron Rodgers with Will Howard or anything like that? Because the fact of the matter is Will Howard was a better college player than Shador at every stop. Not just because he hoisted a national championship for our beloved Buckeyes, but knowing me, knowing I'm a crazy college football fan, I was saying, hey, man, that dude Will Howard pretty good at Kansas State. And you made fun of me like, you watch Kansas State football? It's like, I watch all football. So my whole thing is, if we're going to be clamoring for the replacement of Dylan Gabriel, I don't understand why people aren't clamoring for the replacement of an Aaron Rodgers with a Will Howard when Will Howard has more stature in college football than Shador. He just doesn't have the popularity.
Because I don't think very similar to Dylan Gabriel. I don't think Will Howard was being looked at as a top prospect coming out of the draft. His draft grades didn't mean anything, which, by the way, I like Will Howard, and it would be a pain in my ass if I had to cheer for another former Buckeye. Although, Joe Burrow, technically not a Buckeye, but a Buckeye nonetheless. I don't want to get in that argument. But, I would really hate to see another former Buckeye have to lead a team in the division that I can't stand nonetheless. But no, I don't think Aaron Rodgers has played even close to poor enough like Dylan Gabriel to sit there and warrant replacing him. But at the same time, if you do, I do think the scenario is different. You have Aaron Rodgers, who's 40, who's not your future quarterback. There should be noise there if that's the case, if they believe that to be the case, because if Will Howard is showing any kind of life at all, why are you wasting time with the 40-year-old quarterback if that's the case? As far as Cleveland's concerned, I think it's a power struggle and the tug of war going on, because I think that one was drafted by one part of the regime, and I think one was drafted by the other part of the regime, and it's a pride thing. I will say this, Kevin Stefanski, you better hope that Shedeur is bad. Because in this division that has been open over the last couple of weeks, and you've let wins just go because of the stubbornness with Dylan Gabriel, if we see Shedeur go out there in the next week or two and he just throws it all over the field and lights it up, that's a problem. That's going to be a problem. And Dion will be the Browns' next head coach if that's the case. And I know. I've been calling that for a while. I said if Shedeur shows any kind of life.
Hey, so I know a lot of Cleveland Browns fans. They're over Dylan Gabriel as well. I just want to see Shedeur. I just want to see him. 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 I was like, see him do what? I want to see him play. Okay, fine. And then you have the aspect that you want to see Deion Sanders be the head coach. Everybody out there, especially if you have YouTube TV, you can do yourself a favor and watch a whole lot of Colorado football, because you won't be getting any great football because you don't have ESPN right now. Colorado is terrible, and it's not just because the players aren't any good. It's because the head coach is clueless, and that head coach is Deion Sanders. He's clueless out there what to do. It's been going on for quite a while. It's actually been going on at during the first stint at Colorado during the first year. It happened a lot last year, but you have two elite players that were able to cover it up. A lot of those mistakes. But now that you don't have that super top end talent, one being the Heisman Trophy winner, you can't cover up these glaring mistakes, calling a timeout or anything like that when you're down by 4 points and you finish the game with all three timeouts.
F them timeouts.
Yeah. So I hope the Cleveland Browns do something crazy like that and let Coach Prime be the coach, because guess what? We're winning every game. The Steelers are winning every game versus them because he is clueless. Clueless.
Oh, and keep in mind, I'm not clamoring for that. But you know how the Haslams are. They like these splash moves. And by the way, I spoke about chaos with the Bengals quarterback situation earlier. Deshaun, I think, and here's how I see this going too, because I actually don't think that Shedeur is going to be great. In my head, I'm like, if Dylan Gabriel, if we think that he looks this bad, how bad does the guy behind? I have a hard time believing that a franchise that has been so desperate for a franchise quarterback since they came back 30 years ago is sitting on a franchise quarterback and purposely keeping him out for Dylan Gabriel because of what? I think that there are just as many deficiencies with Shedeur that we just haven't seen yet because he hasn't played than the deficiencies we see here. I think that they made three straight major quarterback mistakes. The Deshaun Watson contract. I still don't think it was a mistake to go get Deshaun Watson. That's why I'm saying the Deshaun Watson contract. I know it hasn't worked. It has not worked. I know that. But I still don't think it was a mistake, because at the time he was a top 5 quarterback. You know what I mean? I think it's silly to say that Cleveland had no business going to get Deshaun Watson. They had a lot of teams had business going to get him. Your Steelers were looking at him. A lot of teams were. The contract was the mistake. The second mistake was Dylan Gabriel, and the third mistake was Shedeur Sanders. 3 straight quarterback mistakes. So they're going to have to eat all of these mistakes. And then they're going to go and try to draft another rookie quarterback. I don't draft with these 2 first rounders. I trade a first rounder for another first rounder the following year if you can. And I just I don't draft a quarterback in this draft coming up.
Todd Simpson coming down, aisle 1.
I don't draft a quarterback in this draft coming up. You have Deshaun for another 2 years. And I think you roll Deshaun out there next year to try to get your money's worth one more time. You keep Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur as the backup. No, because there's no good answer here. Because even if you go get Ty Simpson, Kev, you still have to. You have Shedeur, you have Dylan Gabriel, you have Deshaun Watson. It's a mess. The whole thing is a mess. And the only way to salvage it is You keep these quarterbacks, you go with Deshaun Watson, and you use a draft pick. You try to get a receiver, you go spend money in the you have to make sure that there's nothing left in the Deshaun tank, because what you can't have is you can't have Shador go elsewhere and make it. You can't have Baker being in the MVP discussion again. You can't have Deshaun go resurrect his career in New Orleans or anywhere else. And then you draft another rookie quarterback that doesn't work out. You can't do that. I think you have to milk the Deshaun thing for all you can. One more year.
One more
and
time.
I say that, Kidder,
one more time.
Yeah, Kidder, that's dumb. Oh, I know. But they're all dumb ideas. There's not one good idea for Cleveland. At least don't use another high draft pick on another quarterback right now, because this quarterback class stinks. And Tice, do you like Simpson, or are you just saying because he's the best of the options available?
He's the best of the options available.
That's why you don't do it. That's why, in my opinion, that's why.
Yeah. I mean, like, and just from the Pittsburgh Steelers perspective, like, everybody was like, "Oh, this draft class is jam packed with quarterbacks." Well, guess what? It's not, just like last year's was not. I just think that football in general, not just at the collegiate level, but also at the NFL level, has taken a major step back, and especially at the quarterback position. So I am standing firm on that belief that, hey, man, losing a whole bunch of games to get the first overall pick so you can draft the best quarterback available is not the way to go. It is showing improvement right now. Hey, man, it's the quarterback position is not good at a lot of levels. It's like not a lot of good dudes out there. So, yeah, I would much rather roll out there with Aaron Rodgers again next year, or say, forget it, let's roll with Will Howard or something like that, than to draft Ty Simpson, who's a fourth-year junior and only going to have 13 starts underneath his belt, or, maybe Mendoza from Indiana. I mean, he played good at Cal. He's definitely playing good right now. So maybe he's the answer. But nah, man, I'm good. I'm more than good with drafting one of these dudes in the top 15 or even in the first round at this point.
And also, let's keep in mind, I was against this 2 years ago. I thought going to these disposed of quarterbacks, because the NFL was not working that way for the longest time. But this is back-to-back years where they've gone to a team has gone to a Sam Darnold, and it's worked.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones, and it's worked. I think we really need to. Now it's starting to be a pattern of quarterbacks resurrecting their careers with a team. Because I kept saying that about Baker. I was like, I don't think the Browns have made a mistake. Like, quarterbacks don't go elsewhere and make it after not making it somewhere else.
Baker needs some cooking, man.
Baker's doing it. Sam Darnold's doing it. Daniel Jones is doing it. And I'm probably missing some obvious ones. But the bottom line is,
not Brock Purdy. What's Brock's backup? Mac Jones. When he comes in there, because Brock has been hurt a lot. He's been playing good football. But like the Ty Simpsons, the Dante Moores, Lenore Sellers, I'm good.
I'm good too.
If Mendoza, I'm Cleveland, I'm good. Mateer, obviously we're not talking about Arch Manning right now, but he was up there. He's obviously not coming out of school. Garrett Nussmeier from LSU. You want me to draft one of them dudes? Because, I mean, they don't have a lot of starts. The guy with the most starts is Mendoza from Indiana. So I guess he's the number one guy. I guess.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash. Hey, I miss you coming on.
I miss you too.
We're running out of time.
I miss y'all, man.
We're out of time.
At one Kev Nash, Instagram, Twitter. Let's get it.
Now, hold up. This guy has meetings upon meetings.
I'm about to have the one right now.
Man. All right.
Overrated experience.
Overrated. Oh, yeah. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Hour 2 next.